how they interact with other organisms, and why you should care about them. We used to do this in class, but take a minute and maybe in your notes, write down what you think fungus are before we start here. So where are fungus on our tree of life here?
Man, they're closer to animals than plants, which is kind of crazy.
Way crazy.
Yeah.
So you think of them, and they really do look like a plant. They're growing. Some of them look kind of like flowers, but they're not at all. So why are they closer to animals? What characteristics do they have that kind of make them closer to us?
Well, a lot of it is, you know, the way that they reproduce, they get their food, all of those kinds of things. It's definitely different from plants.
Definitely. And one of those things is how they obtain their food, like you said. They have hyphae that grow into their whatever they're sitting
surroundings.
And they basically suck their nutrients out of it. It's kind of like these straws that reach into many different things and pull that nutrients back into their body. So they're definitely not an autotroph. They're a form of a heterotroph. We call them a decomposer. So they break down the molecules, mostly sugars, and they can pretty much eat anything. We're going to watch these 3 quick videos of fungus attacking McDonald's.
The ant.
An old teacup and an ant growing out of an ant's brain.
That is my favorite little clip.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys have all seen fungus before. Bread mold. You pull it out of the bed and it's got this gray, white stuff on it. That's eating the carbohydrates. There's other types of fungus as well. There's shelf fungus that grow on logs. And then the things that we say, what's a fungus? And everybody says, mushrooms. There's mushrooms too, some of which we can eat. The mushrooms you eat in the store, did you know they're grown in cow poop?
Yeah, I did.
In dark caves.
I always love dropping that on the kids.
Tell kids, make sure you wash it well.
So
there's also some that are predatory, which I think are really cool. What you see here are some hyphae reaching down into the soil, and they have little loops on them. And when a small nematode or worm swims through the loop, it activates it, and it grabs them, and then it digests them. It's pretty cool. What else do they eat? So here's some examples of toenail fungus, ringworm, and some really bad case of kind of like Asexual. It's a little bit different. But they can eat pretty much anything, including human flesh. They secrete a digestive chemical that breaks down the food into smaller molecules, and then they're able to absorb it. And that's what causes like the itching and the rash and so forth on human skin. So how do they reproduce?
Asexual. Okay, so they can just continue to spread their hyphae and then their spores pop up. But they also can exchange genetic information as well.
So they can 2 hyphae meet and swap some DNA, all right. So we see a life cycle of a mushroom or a fungus, and we can see that it's got a couple different phases to it. It does go through meiosis, and it doesn't always look like the mushroom that you see. It's going to go through a couple different phases.
And most of the time, the fungus is where you can't see it. It's not until the mushroom actually pops out of the ground that it's actually getting ready to reproduce.
It has a close connection with the soil. Oh, that's covered up. So we have... The biggest role of a fungus is to decompose. If we didn't have fungus, stuff that died wouldn't go away. It would just stay there. And so all those leaves that fall in the fall time pretty much all decompose of the winter time due to a fungus. And so, but they are used for also other things as well. Medicine, excuse me.
But yeah, we just started learning about bacteria.
Yeah.
And so penicillin, it's a form of a fungus.
We use them, there's a lot of our foods that we may not realize. And we base fungus based upon what they look like. So we have thread fungi. These produce spores, and they look a lot like kind of spider webs. Then we have sac fungi. These have spores, but they also have like a solid structure to them. What about club fungi?
The club fungus, it's basically they're in the shape of a club on the top. So this is kind of our typical mushroom that we think of.
And then finally, imperfect fungi.
Don't fit anything.
They don't even reproduce. They just go and die, which is kind of weird. Like, how does that happen? Well, they just spread onto it. Probably the most important part of fungus, I think, is how fungus acts with plants. This is called a mycorrhizae and mycorrhizae, excuse me. And it's when plants and roots work together to make the soil healthier. So if you have fungus that's growing around a root, it can attach to the root, and it also makes it seem like the root is like
huge,
10 times bigger.
Yes.
So the root gets nutrients from the plant, and the fungus also works with the root to get its nutrients. So it's a symbiotic relationship.
Increases the surface area; they get more nutrients the farther they spread out.
So when you fertilize soil or kill it with different chemicals, you have to be careful because you're killing the fungus in it too. And some fungus is really helpful to farmers and to growing stuff. Most famous fungus?
Penicillin. Yeah, we talked about that.
We did. Totally by accident.
Yeah. Didn't clean his dirty dishes.
It's lazy.
Typical guy, anyway.
So it was able to inhibit the bacterial growth and saved a ton of soldiers' lives during World War I.
Yep.
Well, if you eat fungus, you may not realize it, but it's found in tons of things, from just mushrooms, but also found as additives. It's in any dark-colored soda, soy sauce, breads have yeast in them. So fungus is all around us. Well, thanks for joining us for the Science Academy today, but we have one more to talk about. And that is kind of a funky fungus slash algae that we call lichens. And we have a ton of lichens around Klamath Falls.
Any rock that if you've ever been walking around, it's everywhere.
So it's a fungus is when two organisms kind of combine. Fungus is cyanobacteria, which is photosynthetic. And so the fungus provides nutrients to the bacteria, and the bacteria provides food to the fungus. And they work together. So because of that, they can survive in really harsh conditions, like super, super cold Arctic. It's a process of photosynthesis. We use lichens a lot more than you realize. A huge number of dyes that we dye different fabrics and textiles with are made from lichens. And they serve as food for some animals. All right, now we really are done. Why should you care about fungi? Well, just remember that fungus are in a lot of the foods we eat. It helps a lot of plants grow. They decompose organic matter and wood.
Big.
I don't want dead stuff just sitting around me all the time. They're great for medicines, and if we're not careful, they can eat us.
You got to watch out.
Be careful. All right, thanks for joining us for the Viking Science Academy.